Hello in model railroad land. My name's Captain Mikey, or you can just call me Mike. I'm going to show you how to go from this in an N-scale layout to the next step, which is not a complete layout, it's still being added to. And that's the final photograph there. So stand by, I've got some good tips and some things that may save you some time and money. Hello and welcome to my first YouTube video, which will explain some of the pitfalls and pratfalls I've discovered as I ventured into N-scale model railroading. I'm going to run through some details. I'm going to print them out and take photographs so as not to make such a long introduction. I've done this 3 or 4 times now and it's always 3 or 4 minutes and we just don't really need that. So I'm going to make a list of my materials and I'll just briefly tell you why I chose the materials. I chose 2-inch foam as my foundation. It's very quiet, extremely easy to work with. $45 for a 4x8 sheet, but it'll last forever, maybe longer. I chose to use Woodland Scenic's foam Roadbed. It's an amazing product. I strongly recommend it. You can't go wrong with it. They make sheets also if you need underpinning for your buildings or a switch yard or whatever. As you'll see, I have a pretty good size switch yard. I used 1x6s and put the 2-inch foam on the 1x4s, 2x4 legs, of course. Atlas Code 80 N-scale track, and I ended up using the Pico turnouts, number 4 and number 6. They work a whole lot better than Atlas. I will never purchase another Atlas turnout because of the simple fact that they move as your train goes across it, and you're going to have a bunch of derailments. Picos lock into place, open or closed. I also came up with what I think is a neat and unique idea on how to make sure you can look at your turnout and make sure it's either open or turned, main line or switch, red light, green light, and I'll get into that. I'm kind of proud of that. And we'll discuss some other things such as don't cover your whole platform with plaster cloth. I did that, big mistake. And a bunch of other tips and tricks you can get from an amazing amount of YouTube videos. I'm not going to belabor the point, such as static grass, etc., etc. But I used foam, the white bubble foam on top to make my elevations. And all around the Flex Track Atlas Code 80, I highly recommend. It works just great. And you'll be so happy about the whole thing. So we're going to move on now, give you some overview pictures and some brief video descriptions of what my layout looks like. It's still evolving. I've added a lot of stuff to it since I took these videos I'm going to follow up with. So sit back and enjoy, and good luck with your railroad. I hope these tips help. I hope you can see, I'm sure you can, that literally each piece of rail is pinned down prior to marking it off, because it just has to be exact in order to get the roadbed exact. And free use of the pins is going to save you a lot of trouble later. I'm certain of that, because it just has to be that way. In order for it to be firm, you have to put everything together. You see a piece of track that's not connected, but it's cut exact length. Okay, more in a minute. And here we are, getting started laying the roadbed. Cut it to length at first on the straight parts, not knowing any other better way to do it. And as you can see, I've got them laid down beside each track. And then I'll go back and finish the center part, having the straight track to work with, and keeping it as close to the center line as possible on the gray marks. We'll proceed forward, and then the tricky part's going to be putting the track on top of the roadbed with the switches and etc. Being careful not to glue the moving part of the switches down. Again, this is not rocket surgery. You can see I've laid a bead between the silver marks there. Got my track elevated. It's come loose from the switch, but that's not a big problem. As you can see, I'm using Liquid Nails Projects. Works fine. It's somewhat easy to get up when you make a mistake, as I've done. After a good bit of trial and error, I figured out it was easier to spread the adhesive onto a short piece of my roadbed and then apply it on between the marks such as this, and that way I could be accurate when within the marks and still get enough roadbed down. As you can see, I made a terrible rookie mistake. I was under the impression you were supposed to cover your entire layout with the plaster cloth, and that's caused me no small amount of problems with the leveling of the track. But we will move on. Just wanted to take a quick second and show you the best way to remove these pins from the rail, because the pins, as they go in, get glue on them and they stick. So use your needle nose pliers, hold the rail down beside the pin and pull it out, because you might uproot the entire track if you don't. The switch, there's a Pico number 4 turnout. Since this is America, I'll probably be calling them switches. And if you British and Australian fellows need a translation, switch is a turnout. And you see I've wiped off some of the adhesive there under the part where the actual turnout is affected. I don't have to, because the Picos are not on the, they won't touch the surface ordinarily, but if you had much glue on at all, it's going to touch, and then you got a little problem of it moving back and forth, which is why you bought the thing in the first place. So I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I'm finishing up this switch yard. But this is how you do it. And then what I will do before at the end, I'll show you about these track pins. They just stick them down in the Atlas has a hole, and so does Pico, in a couple spots in the track, and you stick them down. And since I have a 2-inch foam bed underneath this this top layer, that the pins just go all the way down, I can secure the track down very easily and very firmly.